placement. So to be clear, let me just get this out of the way. There is no dispute that we need building code requirements that are implemented for safety, both of the occupants of a house, for example, and for the safety of the firefighters who have to put out a fire. And I fully support the obligation, the role of our local governments to ensure that our homes are safely constructed. Although I would make this note that of the 70,000 completed solar installations in the state today, I'm not aware of a single, not one reported case where solar panels either caused a fire or impeded firefighters in their duties. At the same time, we have another set of policy priorities that I alluded to earlier to increase solar use in our state, as you mentioned this morning. So getting right to Senate Bill 940, as rewritten, I'm going to emphasize, as rewritten with the amendments I submitted this afternoon, is to basically reconcile these competing interests in a way that I think does uphold these two important state policies by providing sort of guidelines and factors for local officials to consider, to take into account during the permitting process for solar installation on a residential roof. So after I talked to my own county officials and some county officials from some other counties, it became clear that the bill as introduced was far too prescriptive, and it probably did place some obstacles to local governments in their permitting process for solar installation. So that the amendments essentially, again, rewrite the bill and really simplify substantially, scales back the effect on local government. So in a nutshell, what these amendments do requires that a county, upon request of an applicant, to provide guidance with respect to the provisions of the recently modified 2018 International Residential Code, again, recently modified. And in doing so, the county is requested to address risk mitigation factors such as sprinkler systems, smoke alarm systems, where a roof is supported by a truss system, and other factors that might mitigate the need for greater setback requirements. So with these amendments, again, Mr. Chair, we're only requiring the county to examine in good faith measures or features that should be considered to strike an appropriate balance between the fire safety policy goals of our state and our state energy policy goals on solar. So that's what these amendments do. They rewrite the bill and tells our counties to take into account these other things when they're putting together or approving these setback requirements. So that's in a nutshell the bill as amended. And for that, I'd ask that Senate Bill 940 as amended be a favorable report on that, Mr. Chair.
Senator, can you wait around a couple of minutes for questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to David Murray from the Solar Group.
Thank you, Chair Pinsky, and appreciate Senator Feldman, your leadership on this issue. For the record, David Murray with the Chesapeake Solar and Storage Association. This committee has heard a lot of the challenges about deploying solar on rooftop, and we haven't discussed permitting really in detail, but this really remains a major barrier for a number of our installers, especially rooftop installers. And while we're trying to tackle these county by county, SB 940 provides us with that springboard at the state level to do so. As Senator Feldman described, this really creates a straightforward way for installers to work with fire code officials to address fire setbacks for residential installs. Fire setbacks are typically meant to allow firefighters to either climb on top of the roof or place a ladder against it in the event of a fire. But what we've heard from a number of firefighters is vertical ventilation, meaning them climbing up on top of the roof, is very rare and only applies in very select instances. But at the same time, they really limit the residential solar industry by reducing the number of panels we can place on a project, even render some of these projects uneconomic because it doesn't merit us putting enough panels on the roof. And so the length of setbacks are prescribed in the 2018 International Residential Code, which, as the name implies, is very broad and crafted by a wide variety of actors in the construction industry. And the restrictive setbacks in the code have a provision in there to ensure that local fire code officials have the flexibility to waive or reduce these setbacks. And so really what SB 940 is doing is asking for local installers and other folks in the construction industry to be able to approach local fire code officials and have some guidance as to what would qualify for exemptions. So the senator mentioned having a truss system, having rooftop sprinkler systems, smoke alarms, other mechanisms that can be deployed to effectively ensure that reducing or waiving the fire setback does not impede local firefighter operations. As I mentioned, this is really critical to our residential solar industry. And at the same time, it gives counties the flexibility they need in order to determine what some of the best practices are in ensuring that we can balance both the needs of the fire safety industry as well as the solar industry. So with that, I urge a favorable vote on Senate Bill 940 as amended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. And finally, Bryson Popham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bryson Popham appearing before you in support of Senate Bill 940 with amendments on behalf of the Chesapeake Solar and Storage Association. In accordance with your request, Mr. Chairman, I will be concise. Also in accordance with your request, I will speak to the amendments as amended by the sponsor. The bill strikes an appropriate balance between two vitally important public policies, namely the renewable energy policy that this General Assembly strengthened in 2019 and the long-standing fire protection requirements in our building codes that each of our local jurisdictions is charged with enforcing. We think the bill is not at all prescriptive. It is intended to serve as a guide for this process, and for that reason, we would respectfully request a favorable report with the sponsor amendments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your conciseness, Mr. Popham. Senator, quick question. On the sign-up sheet, it was either favorable with amendments. And you mentioned the county government, they had a letter with amendments and they've been placated apparently. I don't see the people who had strong opposition.
I'm sorry.
Has MACO been involved or the firefighters? I'm trying to understand if there is opposition, where is it?
Okay, you know what? I guess I'm not sure if there was. Maybe there was an opposition. I was led to believe that maybe MACO. I haven't actually. Maybe Mr. Murray can help me a little bit with that. There, I reached out to my own county, truthfully, who had reservations.
Right.
The prescriptive nature, and they immediately came back after I shared the amendments that they were now fine with the bill as amended. As for other folks, I haven't heard, I'll be candid with you, Mr. Chair, I haven't heard, from many folks on this. So
yeah, I don't want to create a straw man, straw woman.
Right, fair enough.
There. Mr. Murray, is there anything we should know that we don't know?
Chairman Penske, I think the key is here the bill was amended significantly to the point where it just provides a mechanism for solar installers to approach fire code officials for guidance. And so the prescriptive nature of the bill was removed.
Okay. I think I had Senator Gallion followed by Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question would be, so I've actually been on roofs and cut these vertical ventilation holes, and also trained through at our local department people how to do this. The rule of thumb was always a 4 foot by 4 foot hole, and the purpose of that is to have enough room. So you're trying to get the heated gases and stuff out of there, kind of so you can reduce the temperature inside. I mean, for an outsider, it may sound drastic cutting a hole that big in the roof, but honestly, it does a lot of good on the inside. So I don't know if it's not used as much, but it is used some. So my question would be, did you take into account with different firefighters you spoke to that 4 foot by 4 foot needed for ventilation, vertical?
Senator Gallen, the 4 foot by 4 foot hole isn't currently in international residential code, to my knowledge, or at least we haven't encountered that as a significant barrier. It's more the 3 foot setback. And that's why we would like local fire code officials to opine on this requirement as it relates to solar, because they might say, well, you can eliminate the 3 foot setback provided you're allowing that 4 foot by 4 foot space on some point of the house. So some points, we might be able to put solar panels on one side, but not the other. in order to provide that flexibility. The issue is we don't have that right now.
Okay, and that's going to be tough because where you cut the vent hole is going to be in relation to where the fire is. So you're going to want it as close to directly above as you can. If you cut a vent hole on one side of the house and the fire's on the opposite side of the house, what's going to do, it's going to spread that fire from one side to the other. So I think it's really important to continue to reach out and find some common ground there. I mean, personally, I'd rather see solar panels on houses than out in ag fields, but we also want to keep the safety part in mind. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gallion. Senator Ellis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Feldman, for this bill. So the idea is to increase the percentage of the roof that solar can go on. And I think in listening to Mr. Murray, he's indicated that that can happen with some other mitigating factors, like sprinklers on the attic, and smoke detectors. Is that correct, Mr. Murray?
That's what I've heard from firefighters. I don't want to speak for the fire protection officials, but they have indicated that the vertical ventilation often isn't used in certain instances. And so we're asking them to opine on what instances they wouldn't deploy rooftop operations, and therefore we could be exempted from these setbacks.
Yeah, so my question is I thought I heard you said you can put maybe sprinklers in the attic area to take care of some of the fire issues. Did I hear you correctly? You said it kind of fast.
That may be one that firefighters determine would allow them to either reduce or waive the setback requirement.
Right, okay, so.
Senator Ellis, can I just interject? Okay, just to be clear, with the amendments, the bill's not prescriptive at all. All it's opening up is a dialogue with the local officials, the firefighters, to get some guidance from them so that you can maybe work out what's appropriate. I mean, the bill as amended is different than what you may be looking at. It's not saying, it has to be this, that, or the other.
Okay, understood. Yeah, thank you for that. And so this is just from my general understanding really quick. Wouldn't, if that route was taken, when Mr. Murray mentioned a choice of, say, putting sprinklers in the attic, wouldn't that increase the cost of housing, new construction, and all these other additional stuff that maybe offset the idea of having solar on the roof to save money? Of course, it's environmentally friendly, but wouldn't that increase the cost where people will be probably unlikely to get it if the costs go up that high?
In terms of the permitting of this would apply to existing homes. And so if you're an installer, you would take a look at the home and say, well, this already has a sprinkler system or this already has a truss system. So it wouldn't be prescribing any new measures taken. It would rather apply to an existing home, and that might exempt them from specific setbacks. So it wouldn't add any cost.
Okay.
It would simply allow those who have already put them in.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Riley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murray. Got a quick question for you. Can you hear me? So,
Yes, Senator.
For full disclosure, I have signed a contract 4 weeks ago to put a solar array on my roof. We got approval from BG&E, and now it's being submitted to Anne Arundel County for the permitting necessary to put the array out. Wouldn't Anne Arundel County automatically review this with the fire marshal or the fire department to make sure it meets current code?
Thank you, Senator, and congrats on the installation. In order for a solar install to move forward, it has to be approved by the authority having jurisdiction. And once that installation is installed, it subsequently needs an inspection by a local official in order to be interconnected and start producing power. So there are checks to ensure the safety of the system and that it doesn't create a fire hazard by the county. So that's correct.
Okay, so let me go back to my original question. When it's submitted to the county, don't they review it with the fire department?
I believe they do.
Yeah, so, and it gets to the real question of why the bill is needed. Isn't there consultation between the solar industry and county permitting already? What does the bill need to be done if it's already an ongoing process?
Right now, there's
Well, that can be either to the sponsor or to Mr. Murray. It's up to you, Senator Feldman.
I'll defer to the actual guy that does this work.
Okay.
So right now, counties are adopting the code as is. So they're enforcing the setback without any exception. And so we're asking counties to provide the industry cases or guidance on what types of rooftop solar projects might be exempted from certain setbacks. And we believe this guidance would help future installations from not needing the burdensome setbacks that are currently in code, which is adopted as part of an international process and is sort of a one-size-fits-all. And so we're just asking the county to opine on what kinds of instances the restrictive 3-foot setback requirement might be reduced or accepted.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, that completes the hearing on Senator Feldman's bill. Thank you, Senator, and
Thank you.
I'm going to hand it off to the Vice Chair, and we're going to move to Delegate Shetty's Bill 61. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Shetty, welcome to EHE. You've got Environment Statewide Green Business Certification Program Establishment. Following your testimony, we will hear from the wonderful Tricia Swanson from the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. You may begin your testimony, Ms. Delegate Shetty.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. It is an honor to be before your committee. I think this is my first time before you all, so I'm so happy to be with you today. In support of HB 61, which is a bill that will establish a statewide green business certification program based in part on the successful program currently running in Montgomery County. This bill passed out of the Environment and Transportation Committee unanimously, and it passed out of the House of Delegates on a consent calendar vote of 133-2. In December of 2009, Montgomery County, in partnership with Montgomery College and the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, launched a green business certification program to encourage businesses to implement environmentally friendly practices. The program is voluntary and robust, and it includes participation from a number of diverse businesses, from hotels to restaurants, grocery stores, and local farms. The state of Maryland currently operates a Maryland Green Registry, which is a voluntary statewide program that businesses can self-evaluate and determine how they qualify. There are around 560 businesses statewide that participate. Businesses sign up online, they identify 5 green practices, and they provide one measurable result of their sustainable practices. By contrast, the Montgomery County program is more rigorous. It includes a separate audit by the Department of Environmental Protection every 3 years. It allows businesses to receive recognition if they are already enrolled in other recognized national green business certification programs. Businesses certify that they engage in certain green best practices, including waste management and reduction, reducing the use of certain pesticides on agriculture, using organic and alternative materials, and engaging in methods that promote improved air and water quality. In 2015, Montgomery County's program expanded eligibility to accept businesses certified through outside third-party standards and allowing nearly all sectors of businesses to be eligible. Now, eligible sectors for certification include restaurants, offices, hotels, cleaning companies, landscapers, home-based businesses, farms, and others. The benefits of being certified as a green business include increased sustainability, increased consumer support and competition, and the creation of a healthy work environment. Several states have already have green business programs, including Vermont, California, Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Nebraska, and Washington. This bill is identical to a bill, HB 896, that passed out of the House of Delegates last year, but we didn't have enough time to bring it before you before we adjourned early. MDE requested amendments last year to the bill that we had, which would enable Maryland to keep its existing green business registry while enabling the department to consult with Montgomery County to adopt enhancements to their current program. These amendments were adopted, were part of the bill last year, and they are part of your base bill this year. Respectfully, I request a favorable report on HB 61. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Shetty. Next, Tricia Swanson. Ms. Swanson, remind everybody, please, who's your senator?
My senator is the wonderful Vice Chair Kagan.
Hey, great to have you here today. Go ahead for your testimony, Ms. Swanson.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tricia Swanson. I am Vice President of Government Relations for the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce here in support of House Bill 61. Delegate Shetty did a great job explaining the bill and also our green business certification program we currently have in the county. The Chamber was one of the co-founders of the program 12 years ago. And in addition, we actually are a green business, green certified business additionally. And so what that means is we currently lease office space. And as many of you know, we don't have the ability to make our building LEED certified, but we do have the ability to do composting, recycling, no use of single-use plastics and things like that. And it's a really way to distinguish ourselves and show that we're trying to be stewards of the environment. I'm available if there are any questions about the program, and I'll just add that as this committee and the Senate and the General Assembly as a whole is having conversations about the climate crisis, that crisis must be tackled and solved by a variety of stakeholders, businesses included. And this program is an incentive to businesses to green their practices across nearly every sector. We've seen a lot of B2B commerce happening. If the Chamber wanted to use, for example, a green accounting firm, we could go on the Green Business Directory and see that there is in fact an accounting firm in Montgomery County that is a green certified business. So it really encourages that B2B commerce, which is an additional incentive for our business community. By bringing the certification to a statewide level, more businesses will be encouraged to participate, which betters the state and region's climate. So for those reasons, and I'm available for any questions, I would urge a favorable report on House Bill 61.
Thank you, Ms. Swanson. And for anyone watching at home, B2B is business to business, and supporting each other and stuff is an important aspect of our business climate and practice. Senator Carrozza has a question.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, Delegate Shetty, for the presentation. And I like the fact that this is a voluntary program for our businesses. I guess it's a question, and I think more of just to raise a sensitivity to see if, as the sponsor of the bill moving forward, I think that a lot of businesses are making that effort to become green. But as you know, sometimes there's a cost involved in the initial investment, and I'm sensitive to the chair pointing out that sometimes there's then long-term savings, and I understand that. But given COVID-19 and the fact that our businesses have been hard hit, but at the same time knowing that our businesses are, I know a lot of businesses are trying to make the effort, but may not be exactly where they want to be due to the other challenges they've had being either shut down or phased in, and other challenges they're facing with COVID-19. Did you factor that into, because I wouldn't want a business penalized because they aren't where they want to be given the circumstances of COVID-19. So your example of when you go on the website and you look for a green accounting firm or this or that, I guess I just was looking for, again, it's, I don't know if it's recognition or sensitivity that you have businesses that may want to be further along, but have other challenges due to COVID-19. And if there's anything in your legislation or working with the Maryland Department of the Environment that addresses that concern.
Senator, that's a great question. And I think it's of top of mind to many of us elected officials as we recover and the economy recovers from the public health crisis that we've all been faced with over the last year plus now. So this, as I mentioned in my testimony, Senator, this is a bill that we introduced last session pre-COVID, but is one that I hope, the spirit of it continues to be that this is an incentive. It is not a mandate in any way. And certainly we wouldn't view it as a penalty against those who are unable to meet the bar to get the certification. But I don't know if Tricia, if you'd like to speak to anything specific that might help the senator with this particular question as well.
Absolutely. So the current Maryland Green Registry, which is what the bill is trying to enhance slightly, that's going to stay in place, and that's actually free for businesses to opt into and show what efforts they're making in good faith to green their practices. So that's at no cost. And I did an analysis of the different costs that the 8 different programs range from, and those range from free, like the Green Registry, up to about $1,000. So we're talking $300 for our restaurants, which I understand more than most is a lot. It's a big cost right now, especially in COVID. But what we saw, especially with the Montgomery County Green Certification Program, is if a business was having difficulty even making that amount, more often than not, the certification program will try and work with that business, understanding that it is an incentive that they want businesses that come to the table and green their practices. And so there's a wide range of options if a business wanted to show in good faith that they're trying, but might not be able to afford that initial payment.
And again, all that's voluntary on behalf of the business.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see no other questions. So thank you, Delegate Shetty and Ms. Swanson.
Thank you.
And that completes the hearing on House Bill 61. Next bill, Delegate Boyce. House Bill 127, Maryland Paint Stewardship. We have heard this bill before. So Delegate Boyce, help us understand. Welcome. You will be.
Thank you.
Sorry, you're going to be followed by Pam Casemeyer from the American Coatings Association, and then Carolyn Parsa with the Sierra Club, and Heidi McAuliffe with the American Coatings, followed by Scott Cassell. So I'm sorry. So Delegate Boyce, please begin.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. I actually thought I had to come across the street, so I did panic for a little bit. I want to give a shout out to my senator because I see her here. Sorry, you got to give the shout out. I'm sorry. So good afternoon, Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Chair, Vice Chair, and members. For the record, I'm Regina T. Boyce, here to testify on HB 127, Paint Stewardship. HB 127 establishes the Paint Care Program in Maryland. There are currently 11 established programs across the country: California, Colorado, Connecticut, DC, Maine, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. If passed again, Maryland will be the 12th established program. Last year, as HB 890, this committee passed, or the House committee passed the legislation 16-4, and the House passed it 98-35. Waste Today states that 10% of all paint purchased in the United States, which is about 78 million gallons per year, goes unused. According to the Paint Stewardship Institute, it costs an average of $8 per gallon to recycle, which means it costs more than $5 million to manage end-of-life paint in the U.S. About 80% of the paint that can be recycled into new paint. Paint Care was created by the American Coating Association paint manufacturers with the goal of decreasing paint waste and recycling more post-consumer paint by setting up drop-off locations in each state. The program accepts architectural paint, specifically latex, house paint, oil-based house paint, primer, stains, sealers, and varnishes and shellacs at 5 gallons or less. The program will be funded by a fee, not a deposit or a tax, placed on each container of paint sold in the state. The fee fully funds the program, including the yearly independent audit. Paint Care partners with paint and hardware stores, as well as solid waste household hazardous waste programs, to identify and create voluntary drop-off sites. Partnerships with household hazardous waste programs and government collection programs reduce yearly cost in transportation, their recycling, and proper disposal of leftover paint. Post-consumer paint is often the #1 product by volume and cost coming into the household hazardous waste programs. EPR, or what we call an extended producer responsibility, laws are becoming more common. The United States has 119 EPR laws on 14 products in 33 states, and DC. EPR products include such items as batteries and mattresses, medications, carpets, e-products, and syringes, for example. The bill before you today is an EPR law requesting establishment in Maryland for paint. Thank you for your time and your consideration of HB 127. I urge and thank you for a favorable report.
Thank you, Delegate Boyce. And of course, when you've got a senator as cool as Senator Washington, you have to give her the shout out. So there's that.
Exactly.
Well,
All
my
right.
delegate is equally, okay.
Yes, she is. Pam Case-Meyer, welcome to Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs. As the lead proponent, you have up to 5 minutes, but you don't need to use it all. So please begin when you're ready.
I'll take that hint because Delegate Boyce did such an excellent job introducing the bill that I won't need my full 5 minutes. Hello, members of the committee. This is Pam Case-Meyer. And I think I'll just touch on some things that are often questions about the bill or concerns about the bill or some practicalities. I mean, this, and you'll be hearing from Heidi McAuliffe later, who can tell you a little bit about the history and development of the program and how it works. But paint is a very complicated product for the local jurisdictions to recycle. I mean, ironically, while this bill was moving forward positively last year, it's almost more important this year because, as you have all heard from your local jurisdictions, waste management, recycling, and other things are even more challenging under the COVID environment. But put that aside, think yourselves about how many leftover paint cans you have and you do a project and you don't know what to do with it. And the household hazardous waste days are once or twice a year and then you forget. This program really sets up a mechanism to make it easy and cost effective to manage and recycle paint. The program works with each of the jurisdictions to tailor how they best can interact with local government. They don't supplant local government, they actually help offset costs and work with them to enhance their programs. But the big issue is, ironically, you rarely hear where retailers support a project or a program where there's a small environmental management fee added to the product because they'll say, oh, it'll increase the cost. The retailers support this bill, the paint retailers. They aren't required to be take-back locations, but they are allowed to be take-back locations, and they work with the program to do so. And that really has created foot traffic. It's created a very easy way. The bill now, it didn't originally has mileage requirements where the program has to have take-back locations within certain mileage of like 90% of the residents. That actually came as a suggestion from your chairman a year or two back when we were pulling the bill together. And this program has gotten a lot of national awards for the cost effectiveness. Close to 90% of the material is recycled. I think I'll let Heidi, I don't want to lie and take my whole 5 minutes up when I told you I wouldn't. But I think what you'll see is this is a very cost effective. It even has bulk pickups for contractors. So you got big contractors, they don't pay any environmental management assessment, but the program will do bulk pickup. And then the costs of the program have to be approved by the Department of the Environment, oversees all of it, and there are independent financial audited statements required annually to make sure the money is actually spent for what it was intended to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Case-Meyer. So next we're going to hear from Carolyn Parsa from the Sierra Club. Welcome, Ms. Parsa. You have up to 2.5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Carolyn Parsa, and I'm testifying on behalf of the over 75,000 members and supporters of the Sierra Club in Maryland. And I want to thank Delegate Boyce for her leadership on this bill. The Sierra Club strongly supports HB 127 as a priority bill for a number of reasons. The first is that collection, reuse, and recycling of leftover paint in every county will increase. Currently, 18 counties and the city of Baltimore offer paint drop-off days. However, they're usually at one location in the county, and the frequency varies from one day every other year to every day of the year. and 5 counties don't offer paint collection at all. This bill, however, would set up convenient drop-off days and locations for all the counties. Also, this program would save the counties money in 2 different ways. First, in counties that don't have paint recycling, it would save money by diverting paint from the landfill. Apex paint can be recycled into new paint, and we don't have to send it to a landfill. The second is that counties that currently pay for paint recycling programs will no longer have to do so. For example, Anne Arundel County could save over $120,000 each year, and Prince George's County could save $165,000 each year. There are more details about savings and different counties in the written testimony that you have. This program would also create jobs in Maryland in the recycling industry to collect, transport, and process the paint. This program works on the extended producer responsibility model, EPR, with accountability and transparency. The MDE must approve plans submitted by manufacturers to cover the goals for reuse, recycling, as well as budgets and overall program effectiveness. We respectfully request a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parsa. Next is Heidi McAuliffe, who was referenced by Ms. Casemeyer. Ms. McAuliffe is with the American Coatings Association. Again, up to 2.5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will try not to repeat everything that's already been said about the program. Thank you very much, Delegate Boyce, for your support, your leadership, your enthusiasm for this bill. American Coatings Association and the paint manufacturers who helped develop this program really support this bill. We really hope that Maryland will become our 12th state to pass paint stewardship legislation. We're anxious to bring this environmental solution to Maryland. It does several things. It provides free, convenient collection opportunities for consumers and small businesses. As Ms. Parsa indicated, there's significant cost savings to counties and municipalities, and it also promotes the environmental benefits of cleaner water that result when we divert this waste stream from landfills. So cleaning out leftover paint from your basement or your garage becomes exponentially easier when you can take it to a local retailer without paying any fees. Our paint stewardship program makes this a reality by expanding the number of collection sites, by recruiting retailers who volunteer to participate in our program. In the current programs that are operating, we have approximately 1,800 retailers that have volunteered to become collection sites. They believe that this increases foot traffic in their stores and is a value-added service for their customers. This program is zero cost to the state of Maryland. We work very collaboratively with our oversight agency, the Department of the Environment, and we reimburse them for their time in overseeing the program. Since our program has begun operating in 2010, it's collected over 46 billion gallons of architectural paint in both solvent and latex, and we've diverted a great deal of that from the landfills. This program is a win-win for the state of Maryland. We are anxious to bring it to your residents, and we urge you for a favorable vote on 127. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McAuliffe. Wrapping up the proponents, Scott Cassell with the Product Stewardship Institute. Again, Mr. Cassell, up to 2.5 minutes, but you don't have to use it all.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair, Chair Pinsky, and members of the committee. My name is Scott Cassell. I'm the CEO and founder of the Product Stewardship Institute, and I am here in strong support of HB 127. I'm also the guy who brought the problem of leftover paint management to the attention of the paint industry nearly 20 years ago. And I want to sincerely thank Delegate Boyce for sponsoring this bill. Our organization is a 20-year-old national nonprofit with membership from 47 state environmental agencies and hundreds of local governments. And we've worked with the paint industry collaboratively, as well as with other stakeholders, for 4 years to negotiate a model agreement that was signed in 2007 by the paint industry, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, under the signature of then Undersecretary now Secretary Grumbles, uniquely enough, here from the MDE. He was the signator for US EPA. There were also multiple state and local government agencies and paint recyclers that were part of that agreement. So that model is the basis for the laws that were enacted in the 10 states and DC, and it's also the basis for HB 127. Maryland residents do generate 1.3 million gallons of leftover paint each year, and much of that paint is disposed of in the trash and also storm drains because governments can't afford the millions of dollars of cost in order to manage it. So like what others have said, it will relieve a large financial burden on municipalities, establish convenient locations. There'll be more paint reuse and recycling, protecting Maryland's water bodies, and there will be more recycling jobs as a result of this. So our organization has done technical evaluations in multiple states, and this program is widespread, loved by those other states. Retailers love it, municipal governments love it, and other stakeholders. So I strongly support the passage of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Cassell. 20 years is a long time to be working on this issue, so thank you for your time and your initiative.
Sure.
See, Senator Riley has a question. Senator Riley.
Thank you very much. Delegate, thank you for bringing this important bill to us. Give me those three initials again. ER something?
EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility.
Extended Producer Responsibility.
Okay, so Delegate, what does that mean?
It means that
collected at the point of sale?
No, no, Delegate. It would actually be wholesale, for which the manufacturer or the retailer could then charge to the consumer. So the way the bill works is that the MDE will create essentially a program. The Maryland State, the paint care would have to submit the program to MDE to be vetted and looked at. So what will include in that process is the actual fee. So every state doesn't have the same fee. And so the way the fee is determined is by essentially paint sales in the state. So a gallon could be, 20 cents. 5 gallons could be 85 cents or $1. It all depends on the formula they calculate for the state. And so that will be determined in the planning process that has to be submitted and then also vetted through that process.
So will the charge be included in the price or will it be separately identified on the can?
No, it will be included in the price. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's fine. The next thing is, do you know what the current percentage of recycling is in the state of Maryland? Approximately, did that come up in the committee?
Paint recycling, sir?
Yeah.
I personally don't know that.
Okay. Do you know if different states have goals that they're trying to achieve?
So the way the numbers have been presented is that it's essentially determined that 10% of the paint that we use, most of it is in our basements and is just not used. Then of that percentage, it is about 85% of that paint that can be actually recycled or reused, and it's the 15% that is then appropriately discarded. So
yeah. The question is, how much is being recycled today?
And would Ms. Kasemeyer and Ms. McCullough
know that?
Have the answer to that? Or can you circle back with Senator Riley and the committee?
That'll be fine. And
okay, thank you. One more question, Senator Riley?
Yeah, one more question.
Please.
Several people have mentioned savings for the county. I go on a regular basis to the Millersville landfill in Anne Arundel County. The first stop is the paint barn. So we currently have a program where Anne Arundel County is accepting paint. How will the savings be translated to the county? Will you go to that spot and in bulk pick things up? Will they have to deliver it? Could you give
So it will be an enhancement of, and so for instance, in Baltimore City, I think through the Department of Public Works, we have about 4 hazardous waste days a year where residents come and drop paint off at certain sites. The difference with this program is that the city could still have those programs, or because of the partnerships that are created, then at any time I can drop off paint at any hardware store that has come in partnership with it. So when we talk about cost savings, there's a programmatic savings that the jurisdictions are not having to put that on. So you save time and collection and personnel and transportation costs because you potentially don't have to put that on, or you can do that in conjunction with the program. So it's either or. You can continue to ramp it up, or the cities or the jurisdictions can do less of it because it's now accessible to all to just be able to drop off at a hardware store.
There's no
And in addition, Senator Riley,
Yes.
in putting the program together in the other states where it's been implemented, the program will meet with each of the local jurisdictions to determine how best to partner with them. So their interaction with Anne Arundel County may or may not be different than it is with other counties, depending on how those counties want to take advantage of the new options to work with them. It's a little bit of both. And then part of it too, even if they said, oh, we don't need you to do hazardous waste days, they'll just have less volume to manage, which in and of itself is a cost savings.
Delegate, it's an important bill. I've dumped a number of half-empty cans of paint into the landfill with great regret and with guilt, and I'm looking forward to passing this bill in the Senate.
Thank you, Senator Riley. Senator Ellis has a question. I just want to notify the witnesses, either on this bill or future bills, that unless there's a question directed to you, directly, that you can't ask a question or speak up, because we'll be here a really long time and we have to vote. So Senator Ellis, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Quick question, and thank you, Delegate Boyce, for this bill. Ms. McCullough, you mentioned architectural paint. I'm not familiar with that term. What type of paint is that this bill covers?
Thank you, Senator. Architectural paint is basically house paint, solvent-based or latex-based, but it does not include what we would call industrial paints or specialty coating paints, like marine paints or swimming pool paints or automotive refinish. Those type of coatings it would not include.
Okay, so why would we not include those? Is there a reason?
Typically, those aren't the type of paints that consumers will have in their basement or garage. So what we're really after is the highest volume of product. And those industrial and specialty coatings do have different technologies that don't lend itself to easily to recycling.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Question, Senator Ellis. Thank you. I see no other questions, so that completes the hearing on Senate Bill 127. Thank you, Delegate Boyce and witness.
Thank you, EHE. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Take care. HB 232, Delegate Fraser Hidalgo, Maryland Agricultural Commission, hemp industry member. After Delegate Fraser Hidalgo, we will hear from Kevin Addix. So welcome to EHE, Delegate.
Thank you. We have a pretty spotty connection, so I hope you can hear me okay. I want to thank the committee for allowing me to present House Bill 232. This is an important bill, and I want to thank the Vice Chair of the committee for giving me some information on this particular issue. Hemp is a very big issue in the state of Maryland. We've made it bigger, and we've made it a great crop in the state of Maryland over the last few years through a lot of work. And just some basic information, there are currently, as of about 4 weeks ago, 69 registered farmers that are farming and growing hemp as a crop. That's over 1,500 acres in the valuable crop just in the state of Maryland. It continues to be a huge diversification opportunity for our agricultural growers in the state. With that said, the Department of Ag has an advisory board. There are 30 members on that advisory board that advise the Department of Ag specifically on agricultural related issues. And since we've made so many inroads in hemp in the last few years, we thought it would be appropriate to add a member to the Department of Ag's advisory board that specializes in hemp, since it is such a big issue. And that's all this bill does. It's really, really easy. There's no fiscal note to it. Sailed out of the House this year. Last year kind of got caught up in all the COVID stuff, but it's pretty simple. Again, nobody is against it. There's no opposition to it. There's no fiscal note to it. And with that, I yield the rest of my time back to the committee.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Kevin Addix, you came back just in time. We are ready for your testimony. Welcome to EHE.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee, and thank you to the delegate for putting this bill in. I have submitted written testimony. I will not repeat it other than to say that the industry would greatly appreciate the added platform and voice and advice that would come from being part of the Maryland Agriculture Commission. So with that, I yield my time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Addix, and thank you for all the advocacy that you do so effectively. I see no questions from colleagues. That completes the hearing on House Bill. Got to get used to those now. 232. Thank you both for your testimony. Handing it back to the chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. The last two bills of the day, Delegate Grammer, HB 267, sewage treatment plants, effluent discharges, impacts on midge population. Some of you will remember the midge issue, and I'm sure the delegate will talk to us about it for those not familiar with midges. I don't know what the plural of midge is, but I assume it's midges. Welcome, Delegate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Delegate Robin Grammer here to present House Bill 267. House Bill 267 requires the Department of the Environment to monitor discharges from sewage treatment plants, evaluate impacts on the growth of phytoplankton, which is the main food source for midge populations in the surrounding area, and report their findings to the General Assembly. Midges are tiny flies that feed aquatically. With a lifespan of 2 days, their sole purpose is to reproduce. To do this, they gather in huge swarms of millions of flies that are a terror to any developed area. They fly in your eyes, mouth, and ears. Normal respiration will cause you to breathe them in. You won't be able to step outside. Your property, from your grass to your roof, will be coated in dead bugs. And Mr. Chair, I have sent the committee some pictures to illustrate the problems we see here. We have predominantly residential communities that are adjacent to our treatment plant, and that this is a real terror for the surrounding area. We understand the correlation between sewage treatment plants, discharge, phytoplankton, and midge infestation. However, as we look for an advanced long-term solutions for this growing problem, we need an accurate professional feedback system to test our actions and findings against. House Bill 267 puts in place a simple reporting process so that the public and policymakers can be more informed and make data-informed decisions. With that, I'll close. I'll say thanks for the hearing for House Bill 267. Happy to take questions, and I'd ask for a favorable.
Thank you, Delegate Grammer. Questions? There are no witnesses, pro or con. If you have questions about effluent discharge or midges, now's the time to ask it.
And I have included my cell on that email if you want to give me a call or send me a text.
Okay, seeing no further conversation, that completes the hearing on HB 267.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We're going to go to the last bill of the day. Is Delegate Stein with us? I know he had a subcommittee meeting. Or someone from his office?
Let's see, I haven't heard from anyone. Give me 1 second, Senator Penn.
Is Ms. Ranson with us?
Yeah, she was signed on. She's here.
Hello.
Well, let's start. Why don't you reach out, Ms. Stanton, to Delegate Stein, see if you'd like to join the call. He might be in subcommittee, or call his.
Will do.
And we'll start with the lead proponent, Ms. Ranson from Clean Water Action.
All right, good afternoon, members of the committee. I am Emily Ranson with Clean Water Action, here in support of House Bill 302. Ensuring that septic systems are designed, installed correctly, and properly serviced is absolutely necessary to the home value, the health of the people living in and around the home, as well as the environment. A septic system is basically a tiny wastewater treatment plant.
Ms. Ranson, oh. I think we have been joined by Delegate Stein.
Okay.
And I guess I'd like to have him go first. He was there for a moment. Let's give about 15 seconds for him to connect.
Yeah,
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate
There we
Stein, I
go.
know you've got other work in a subcommittee, but we wanted to give you a shot. I started to have Ms. Ranson present the bill, but we'd rather hear it from the sponsor. So
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My apologies for being.
No, not necessary.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman and committee members, this bill, as you've already started here, this bill deals with septics. 420,000 homes in Maryland have septic systems, but problems with design, installation, and maintenance can hide for years. And these problems in turn can lead to contamination of the ground, of wells, or nearby streams. So it's critical that the people who do the designing, installation, and repair of septics, that they be properly trained. And that's what this bill would do. House Bill 302 will bring much needed standards to the septic industry. It creates a board to oversee the licensing procedures for people in the industry, such as master and journey installers, property transfer inspectors, operation and maintenance providers, and pumpers. So the board established by the bill is analogous to the licensing boards for plumbers, electricians, well drillers, and other trade professionals. A key reason for this bill is that locally, licensing for septic professionals varies significantly from county to county. Some counties have no licensing requirements for installers, like Howard and Montgomery counties. Others may require a one-day class and a small fee. Others just require a fee. So the scattershot approach to licensing does not provide the training or accountability that is very much needed. Also, no county has any licensing for septic designers, operation and maintenance personnel, or property transfer inspectors. So as an example of the need for more oversight, I got this email from someone who had heard about HB 302. And so this is quoting from the email. Per your bill, I learned the hard way that while septic systems may be installed correctly, they may be rendered inoperable later, and the burden of fixing that falls on a subsequent homeowner. We bought a home in Talbot County in 2016. The home inspector checked the septic system and declared it to be functioning properly. 4 years later, I arranged for an inspection by a septic company. That company found the vent fan was not working. And upon further investigation, we discovered that the fan was not connected to power. It cost us nearly $2,000 to have the system repaired to function as it was supposed to do. This was not, and then he continues, this was not our first run-in with septic problems, though. Our first home in Maryland was in Caroline County. At that home, I learned our septic system had been installed by the prior homeowner, who was a builder. He put in a jury-rigged septic tank that did not have a pump out. It failed a couple years after we bought the home, costing us thousands of dollars to have it replaced. So this individual story is just one example. In my district, which is about a good chunk of it is on septic, I've gotten several complaints from constituents about septic systems that have failed. So in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, to protect homeowners, I urge passage of this bill.
I'm not sure your Delegate, I'm not sure your schedule. Do you want to take questions now, or should we hear the proponents?
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, could we hear the other proponents, and then we'll take questions?
That's fine. Okay, Ms. Ranson, back to you.
All right. So thank you. And we are definitely in agreement that an industry dealing with the complicated soil types, hydrologic flows, viruses and bacteria, and construction should have a regulatory board to ensure that work quality, consumer protection, and continuing education as technology and our understanding of how soils impact waste treatment changes. And it was very surprising to find out that this industry does not have a professional board, unlike home improvement contractors, electricians, plumbers, or the well drillers. Basically, everybody involved in buying or selling your home is licensed. Everybody except the person that ensures that your raw sewage is handled safely. And so while many Maryland counties have licensing on their own, this bill allows those individual county licenses to continue, but it creates an overarching base level license. And this legislation is based on a number of years of conversations with the septic industry, MDE, the counties, the environmental health directors, and we appreciate their help in shaping this final bill. Although we do understand that they feel that some of them feel that this issue needs to be studied longer, but we feel that there is this urgent need to create a base level of professionalism for this industry. Another short story is that while we were working to define what a failing septic system is, a woman came to this committee to tell her story of her septic system, where she was a new homeowner who was surprised when her dog's toenails got infected. And it turns out that her system was failing and she was advised to keep pets and children out of her yard. Her septic inspector failed to catch the problem. She had no recourse there. And when she finally was trying to get her system fixed, she found that her system was designed wrong, it was installed wrong, and it was inspected poorly. Basically, everyone failed and there was no way for her to get help. So the status quo is not working. Poorly designed systems are getting installed, systems are being installed wrong, and a septic system sits unseen in a yard and relies on the balance of soil drainage and water flow to work. The homeowner needs the assurance and confidence that the system is being installed properly, and our surface water and groundwater, the water we drink, needs the protection of well-designed and properly installed septic systems. This bill pairs well with Senate Bill 22, the Property Transfer Inspector bill that passed out of committee. And while we know that this board will take longer to set up, one of the reasons why that one was separate was that it is so critical to get those inspectors licensed ASAP. It also pairs well with Senate Bill 701, enabling the counties increased flexibility to bond their BRF allocations for septic repairs, because the board will ensure that the repairs that the counties are loaning money for are high quality and have the assurance of a regulatory board behind them. We feel it's important to get this regulatory board, just like interior designers, locksmiths, barbers, pawnbrokers have, to make sure that our sewage is handled correctly. So thank you, and we urge a favorable report.
Thank you. Matt Geckel, please. Back River.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members, for hearing this bill. I'm here today in support of HB 302. This will provide a clear path for people wanting to get into the industry than currently available and protect homeowners for far better than they're being protected now. This profession needs more and better trained members. And I'm constantly hearing stories from homeowners and property owners about unexpected expenses because of people in this profession hadn't performed like they were supposed to. I know of an installer who has illegally installed a system in Carroll County. He charged the homeowner $10,000. 2 years, the system failed. The county came in and found out that it was installed illegally. They did nothing to this installer, and the homeowner ended up paying $20,000 for a new system out of their own pocket. So it's costing homeowners a lot of money. Another time, the designer designed a system. The regulatory authority declined the design for the system. And when the homeowner told the designer they need to redesign it, they designed it incorrectly. He just simply walked away and kept the money that he was paid originally. And the homeowner had to hire a new designer to design a system that was finally approved by the county. In addition, more of these systems are getting more complicated to put in and to maintain. We need to provide a system that will ensure that these people are properly trained and can get continuing education to meet the changes in the industry. I hope you provide a favorable report for HB 302. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Geckel. Mr. Harrison, followed by Gene Van Gutten, and then we'll take questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Eddie Harrison. I'm testifying in support of House Bill 302. I am a legislative liaison for MALPA, the trade organization for the on-site industry in Maryland. By the way, MALPA last summer fought to keep the industry open to giving opportunity to citizens with criminal records. I am also a small business owner of BAT On-Site LLC, an automated on-site wastewater operation and maintenance provider. I've been involved in the on-site wastewater industry since 1984. Due to the advancement of the technology and field practice that have occurred over the past 50 years, the days of just digging a hole in the ground and assuming the wastewater will just go away are long gone. Systems today have critical dimensions and specifications that have to be adhered to. More and more systems require electronics and electrical controls for treatment and even distribution. The industry has advanced much faster than the oversight and the education has. There are too many professionals performing work in this field that are not properly trained and costing property owners unnecessary grief and money. This can all be rectified with proper education and training to bring all on-site professionals into the 21st century. This board and licensing initiative is born from the industry itself. Most all on-site industry members that I have interacted with are looking for a board made up of industry professionals from all over the state, a board to provide structure, education, and accountability, and create a level playing field for quality professionalism, and to give our customers consistency and the level of professionalism they deserve on the most expensive appliance in their home. This bill answers this. We, as in MALPA and this panel, have reached out with online surveys, work groups, and open forum discussions with every known group that will be affected by this bill. Almost all people we discuss this initiative with have seen the value in it. The work group sessions with the state health directors produce very helpful input to greatly improve this bill. This bill, as is written, will allow the board professionals to make recommendations to MDE for regulation, but not able to set policy itself. Please give this bill a favorable report to protect Maryland property owners' most valuable asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Gene Van Gutten, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Gene Von Gunton. I live near Westminster, Maryland in Carroll County. I worked my entire professional life in local environmental health administration, both with the Frederick County Health Department and the Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services. My entire career was involved with individual water well and septic systems. My testimony is intended to illustrate the impact this bill would have upon these local environmental health departments across the state. Most of these departments are understaffed and struggle with staff recruitment and retention. At the same time, the state has bestowed upon these departments nearly all the responsibility for the design, construction, installation, and oversight of almost all on-site systems. This arrangement is not functioning well in many counties as the staffing levels are simply inadequate. The really difficult problems bounce back to MDE, where their staff struggles to keep up. The time has come to unburden local health and stimulate the private sector industry necessary to provide on-site services. HB 302 will establish an effective board to oversee the entire on-site industry. It will remove excess workload from both the local health departments and the Maryland Department of the Environment. It will give these regulators an important tool to ensure on-site systems are properly established and maintained, and begin to establish a healthy public-private sector partnership to move on-site forward. Of course, the benefit to the on-site user owner will be substantial. A homeowner who hires a wastewater professional to design, construct, or maintain their system will rely upon a board with oversight and regulatory power to make sure they are well served. The code of ethics included will finally elevate the wastewater industry and create a level playing field where dedicated service providers will flourish and the consumer will benefit. I hope you will support HB 302 and the entire on-site wastewater industry. Thank you.
Thank you. We have two favorable amendments. We're going to hear from them and then open it up to questions. So we'll get to you in about 3 minutes, Senator Hester. Let's go with Sarah Trescott, Environmental Health Directors. Please.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and committee members.
Could you raise the volume, please, Ms. Trescott?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Better. Still a little light.
All righty. I'm Sarah Trescott, representing the Maryland Conference of Local Environmental Health Directors. Thank you for allowing me to testify today. Environmental health professionals are delegated and operate under the authority of the Maryland Department of the Environment with regulatory oversight of the design, installation, and enforcement with respect to on-site disposal systems. Our conference strongly supports the increase in accountability for wastewater activities that affect public health. Respectfully, however, this bill is premature and unnecessary in its entirety. It is premature to comprehensively rework regulation of the entire industry without the data to support it. We appreciate your committee's significant work on improving septics this session with the passage of Senate Bill 22 by Senator Young, which will allow MDE to license property transfer inspectors statewide and require ongoing training throughout their licensure. However, this change is based on evidence and being corrected without the need of an oversight board. As my colleagues will describe in their testimony, the bill could be amended to include the licensure of property transfer inspectors without the need of a new board. Thank you, sir.
And thank you. Heather Moritz.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Heather Moritz, and I too am representing the Maryland Conference of Local Environmental Health Directors. And I want to thank you for allowing me to testify today. As my colleague just outlined, and after consultation with county environmental health directors, the conference is aware of numerous instances where property transfer inspectors with insufficient training signed off on septic systems that were clearly failing or in need of major repairs. Due to this systematic problem statewide, we agree that on-site wastewater property transfer inspectors should be licensed by the Maryland Department of the Environment, which will occur upon the passage of Senate Bill 22. However, we disagree that there is evidence of need for a broad licensure of the many other on-site wastewater professionals included in House Bill 302. For example, in my 19 years with St. Mary's County, I've experienced the effectiveness of our robust licensing system that is currently in place. In order to install a system, a person must first pass an examination and prove comprehensive knowledge of on-site systems prior to officially obtaining a septic contractor's license. Licensing at the local level provides the ability to act and make public health decisions in a timely manner, as well as providing a service to our community and other wastewater professionals that is specific to our county. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Welsh, also from the Environmental Health Directors.
Thank you, Chairman Penske. Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair and committee members. My name is Kenny Welch, currently the president of the Maryland Conference of Local Environmental Health Directors. As my colleagues have outlined, and after consultation with county environmental health directors, the conference agrees that it has been demonstrated that property transfer inspectors should be licensed by MDE, but it's not necessary to do so with a board. Further, collaborative discussions did not demonstrate issues with systems within 3 years after installations. This suggests installers are sufficiently regulated. The vast majority of counties already require licensure for installers and collect fees for local health department revenues. Haulers are also licensed by counties and based on regulations promulgated by MDE. Master operation and maintenance providers are certified by manufacturers and must pass an MDE operation and maintenance course. We recognize the need to license property transfer inspection, but believe there is insufficient evidence that demonstrates systematic issues with other service providers. We are supporting House Bill 302 with amendments to require that a study in consultation with the conference, MACO, MDE, and other stakeholders, including industry representatives and advocates, in effort to identify problem areas among industry professionals. Thank you for allowing me to testify today.
Okay, let's start with Senator Frey-Hester, followed by Senator Washington.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And
To the bill sponsor, I just want to thank you for addressing this issue head on. I think it's very important both for our septic systems, but also for our wells. And I and many of my constituents live on both. I had a couple of questions and Emily Ransom addressed the first one, which was how kind of the three bills fit together. And so if Ms. Ransom, if you're willing to share your testimony, just in case I could use it on the floor to defend one of these bills, I'd really appreciate it. My second question is about, other states. So how is this, regulated in other states? And if they don't have a board, what do they do? Because I kind of want to get a sense for where Maryland fits in. Could anybody answer that one?
Unfortunately, well, go ahead.
Yes. This is Eddie Harrison with MALPA. Yeah, we did a check last year when we were presenting this, and there's 26 other states that have some sort of statewide licensing. Whether some have a board, some don't. But including all of our neighboring states: Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia. So there is a statewide program in most of the states in the United States, and it's a trend that's growing steam.
Thank you. And if I might just follow up, Mr. Chair, I just have one other question. For the counties that say that they do offer sufficient oversight, I was just curious how the sponsor would respond to that. I think oversight is one thing and speed is another. I know that in our county, I totally feel that our local health department is understaffed. And so I was sympathetic to what Mr. Von Gunten said, but how do you respond to that, sponsor?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I would respond that supervision and oversight is very inconsistent among counties. With respect to installers, Howard and Montgomery counties have no licensing requirements. And I mentioned in addition to property transfer inspectors, you have other categories where there is no licensing: septic designers, operation and maintenance. And the stories I've heard and the story I recounted touched on problems not just with property transfer inspectors, for which there is a separate bill, but for installers, and which is such a key part of making sure that you get a functioning septic system. So, so my response would be is that yes, there is, not to completely discount the oversight that counties are providing, but that it's scattershot, and for some categories of septic professionals, there's none at all.
Thank you. Senator Washington, followed by Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Delegate, for bringing this bill forward. Again, unlike good Senator Hester and some other members of the committee, septic, this isn't something that I usually get constituent calls about. So there are other things that we have, stormwater overflow and things like that. But as a member of the committee, looking at in generally professionalization and licensure of professions. And so I'm going to ask some questions. There is a question here. So in terms of looking at sort of the professionalization, are you suggesting that in some way there should be sort of standards, professionalization, licensure for not just the inspections that transfer, but also the people who are doing the installations? I mean, is that somewhere? We don't have that. Is that correct?
Thank you, Senator. Yes,
Yeah.
There are a fair number of counties that do license installers, but some do not.
Right.
And so, that's a key gap, and including, again, the two that I've cited are Howard and Montgomery counties, which I'm sure have a fair number of septic systems. So right. It's it goes beyond the property transfer inspectors to making sure that installers in any county are regulated or are licensed, as well as other categories of professionals, which right now do not have any sort of certification or licensing.
And I think I also want to value what Ms. Trescott, and it sounds like the whole associations of professionals who take very serious their responsibility to protect the public health in their counties. Am I reading that this bill is attempting to supplant that authority any kind of way? I mean, would the state be coming in to take away their ability to provide the type of sort of very specific regulation that they provide in their counties?
The short answer is no, and the standards could be implemented by them. Counties are also explicitly provided the authority to provide stricter standards if they like. But I'll defer to the other proponents on if they have anything to add.
Yeah. And I guess just to Ms. Trescott, in terms of the board, I mean, would it be helpful for there to be a statewide format opportunity for professionals like yourself to talk about commonalities and standardizations, across your jurisdictions? I wonder, I'm trying to really get at what the downside of that is. And I just really want to understand it. That's not a rhetorical, isn't it so? I mean, I generally want to understand.
Yes, Senator, thank you for the question. The environmental health directors are licensed professionals themselves by the Board of Environmental Health Specialists. We also enforce the delegation agreements from the Maryland Department of the Environment and Maryland Department of Health. And we work within our counties. Out of 24 jurisdictions, only 5 do not license installers, for example.
Right.
So the majority of counties do, in fact, license installers. As Mr. Welch pointed out, septic haulers, designers, and others are currently certified. And if you want to work on your own system, you have to pass a course and be certified by the manufacturer of the system. So there are many requirements in place already that deal with a lot of the concerns. When we met with the team and reviewed these processes that are in place, we discovered that there was, in fact, good hard evidence that the property transfer inspectors should be licensed. We agree with that wholeheartedly. However, we did not find the evidence when looking back 3 years that installers were making decisions that were detrimental to the consumer.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Delegate Stein. This is a really important issue, especially in my district, and I'm really glad to see the participation of the local environmental health directors because they have really difficult jobs. I actually work closely with mine in Worcester County, Bob Mitchell, and did have a chance to connect with him. I wanted to follow up because you've said what you support with amendments. And I wanted to pick up, Mr. Welch, on your comment about the value of the work group. And I would like you just to, pardon the pun, flesh that out a little bit in that my involvement has been being hands-on in some of these meetings. It's the environmental health director, it's it's some of the construction people, it's the state people, it's the county commissioners, and everybody has maybe approaching it in a different viewpoint, but maybe trying to accomplish the same goal. Could you elaborate why you think that work group solution might help us move to the next step with this challenge?
Basically, we need to figure out what the systematic problems are. And like Ms. Trescott already said, in our investigation and working with Team Septic in 2019, we really could not find that much of a systematic issue. So this group, in a study and consultation, could work through that and try to figure out what the problem is and find a resolution to it other than creating a board for that.
And what would the role of the environmental health directors be in that work group?
Basically, just to try to work within our counties to figure out where systems have failed, why they have failed, how many have failed, and work with the conference and the different groups to try to figure out a resolution to that.
Well, I appreciate that response, and just to wrap up, the fact you all have an expertise that is incredible to me. I have to concentrate whenever I have a conversation with Bob Mitchell and trying to understand, because you're dealing with complicated issues. So I'm glad to see the environmental health directors this involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, that concludes the hearing on Delegate Stein's bill. Thank you for the witnesses. Thank you for your patience and testimony. Committee, it's 4:15. We'll meet in the committee room at 4:30. We're going to have a hard stop, I think, around 7 o'clock. So please get here promptly so we can move some bills. Thank you. We're adjourned.